The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NFL Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NFL from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NFL Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NFL.
Shemar Stewart has taken his dispute over language in his rookie deal to the next level.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast.
More contract drama. Today we will dive back into what exactly is going on with Shemar Stewart as he leaves practice, leaves the facility before the final day of minicamp. Didn't miss a whole lot if he wasn't going to practice anyway, but the absence was certainly noted. Picked up a lot of national steam. We'll talk about some of the narratives out there that are quite frankly ridiculous. We'll talk about what exactly is being negotiated between these two sides and why Shemar Stewart is not happy about it, why both sides can be seen as reasonable and why both sides can be seen as maybe not so reasonable. Those are all the things we're going to talk about with Shemar Stewart. We're also going to cover some of the last 2 days of minicamp where we haven't had a chance to talk about what's been happening on the field. We'll finish the show there. But James, you're down there for the final day of minicamp today on Thursday, and Shemar Stewart isn't there. And what was that like? Just the initial reaction. You learned about this as practice was going on.
Stole the show. It was the clear-cut number one topic throughout practice. And day 3 of minicamp is lighter. They had it in the stadium. It's a shorter practice. It's earlier in the morning. And it's really quick. It's in and out. And boy, oh boy, was it in and out, because I was like, man, I don't necessarily need to be here anymore, which is ironic since Shemar Stewart felt the same way. I mean, the moment you find that out, it's like, well, that's the story. Zach Taylor's talking after practice. Shemar Stewart isn't there. It's just during this process, and it's been public, and it's been oddly public. I'll say that. Like odd how much this has been covered. And again, it's because he hasn't been practicing. And so it becomes a topic, and then questions get asked and all of those things. But throughout it, you're like, well, he's there. He's in meetings. He's been the good soldier, all those things. Like he's engaged until today. And it's like, oh, well, he left after Wednesday's practice. And what I thought was interesting is he left after practice Wednesday, and it gets over mid-afternoon. And then Jordan Schultz tweeted a picture of him, and he's been working out at Black Sheep Performance for a few weeks now, the same place Joe Burrow works out at, and a bunch of other Bengals players work out at. But an NFL insider's tweeting a video of him on the bike. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's why that was tweeted. He's like, hey, see, I'm still working, but I'm not showing back up at minicamp. Like, I'm sure. And so didn't show up. Do I think he missed anything today? No, not at all. Everyone watching and listening could have made it through minicamp day 3 practice, I would say confidently, but especially tasked with what Shemar was going to be tasked with, which is standing there. But this is a distraction, and it's a big distraction, and it's going to be a big topic until he signs, until he's on the field, until we see 97 with a helmet on, or in practice uniform and working out. Until that happens, this is going to be something we discuss. It probably won't just be today, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it. And for us, I would say unfortunately, because I would much rather be talking about how he fits in on this football team. And we just haven't seen that yet. And I don't think anyone's thinking about that right now, because it feels like it's one simple thing, as we'll get into, but it feels like we're a long ways away from him getting on the field.
And as everyone, including him, that you would ask would admit, it would be far more ideal for him to have gotten work in over the Bengals offseason program.
Yep.
We didn't really emphasize this significantly during the one-day rookie minicamp that was very light work and acclimation, whatever the term is, kind of session, getting them used to what they can expect from a schedule perspective, from a procedure perspective, from a this is how we're going to run practice perspective. But then when you miss all of the offseason program, all of the OTAs, the mandatory minicamp, because you're not under contract yet. You're sounding off. You leave early. This is as contentious as a first-round pick could handle negotiations with the team. And when I say first-round pick, I don't mean Shemar Stewart individually, the player. I mean his agent. I mean his camp. I also include him in that conversation because he has agency in this. But he's following the advice of those that he has entrusted to handle his contract, to handle his professional side of things, the non-football aspects of his life, right? And so he's doing what the plan is. All of this is, I assume, being coordinated with those advising him. And then when you dig into the actual dispute, it starts to feel, that's where I can really see both sides, let's say. And we'll dive into that. But where the Bengals have deservedly been under a ton of heat 2 years ago, last year, this year, for their various contract struggles with their receivers, with Jesse Bates, with Trey Hendrickson, you name it. They have been under fire from, the Pat McAfees of the world, the big name national reporters out there as well. We've been critical of the way they've done contracts. This is one where I really do see it in both perspectives here. When you dive into the specific topic at hand and the way that it became such an issue. The reason, like you said, the reason this is such an issue is because the agent side of things went through Pro Football Talk, and that's where this initially went very public. And then Shemar Stewart isn't practicing. Those are the two reasons that anyone is paying any attention to this. Amarius Mims, for all we know, and there are somewhat reputable accounts that Amarius Mims went through the same thing in his negotiation last year.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say anything about it, and he practiced the whole time. So nobody thought about it. And what's different here is how contentious it's become. The call out of the organization, the front office, the non-participation. And because of all those things, it's very much in the spotlight, to the point that you have Adam Schefter going on the Pat McAfee show on Thursday and giving some misinformation or incorrect information that we'll correct here in a few minutes. But it's very easy to see why this has become such a hot button issue with the offseason that it has been for the receivers, for Trey Hendrickson, now for Shemar Stewart, and the Bengals' recent history. And that's why it's attracting all this attention.
A ton of attention. And I do think back to Amarius Mims last year, and there is a rookie camp right before minicamp, or right before training camp, excuse me. He got signed like the 22nd of July. That rookie session, and those sessions aren't open to the media. We don't know. Well, we don't know. Maybe he was like, all right, enough is enough. And then they went that route. I think it's interesting because the Bengals deserve plenty of criticism. And I've criticized them for the Shemar thing. And part of it is you just don't need the headache right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't. There's a lot going on. It would be really nice to have Shemar and working with Al Golden and working with Jerry Montgomery and working against some really good tackles and all of those things, working on his one-on-ones and all these things that I was talking to different veterans about that the offensive line and defensive line has already done, to where guys like Dylan Fairchild are benefiting. Shemar would be benefiting from those reps against Orlando Brown Jr. and against Amarius Mims. So that part of it is frustrating.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to track your finances, get a hold of your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. Track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, some interesting quotes from Trent Williams, Bryce Huff, Christian McCaffrey, but I want to start with Robert Saleh. And one of the simple quotes, and Robert Saleh didn't say a lot, and one of the things he did say was that you can't, he's going to reserve any judgment until the pads come on, essentially saying that they're out there taking borderline mental reps as a football team, and you can't win a job in shorts, Croc. He's going to reserve any judgment until the pads come on. As a coach yourself, Croc, do you judge your players before the pads come on? And do you think Robert Saleh is given a BS answer there because he just doesn't really want to answer what the real answer is? I think it's mostly true, and that you shouldn't judge a lot by, I think people, especially media and fans, you'll see something, a clip. And by the way, I want to talk about a clip from about an ex-49er as well from Minicamp. I don't know if you saw that one. But before that, Robert Saleh. Can you judge anything before? Do you think Robert Saleh is actually judging things before the pads come on?
I think you have to pay attention. Listen, how many times have we heard conversations about a draft pick, and 2 days into practice, they're like, this guy can't play. Like he's just not that good, right? I mean, so if you could tell two days into practice, like if a guy kind of has it or not, there are some things that you are keeping track of during OTAs, during mandatory mini camps. I would say, again, for 90% of the guys, like it may not make a whole lot of difference for some people, but there are some guys that are jockeying for positions and guys that are fighting for opportunities. And you bet your bottom dollar, these guys are earning more opportunities by what they're doing in OTAs and rookie minicamp. Now, is this going to be the reason he makes the team? No. But the coaches learning about a player, understanding who he is, how much he can retain and stuff, and it's like, you know what? Hey, let's try him here. Like, let's see what this looks like. Like there is some of that going on. So I do agree that you're not going to win a job during OTAs, minicamp, and all that, but you can gain opportunities for certain players. Trent Williams, it ain't gonna mean nothing. Brock Purdy, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, it's not gonna mean anything. But some of those other guys, there's a lot of defensive backs. I think I still have the 49ers depth chart on here. The Trey Brown, Trey Avery, Chase Lucas, those guys of the world, like this stuff matters. Let a guy just get his ass kicked several days in a row, and you'll see him on the streets real quick. So they are paying attention. But again, the pads supersede everything else.
I do agree. They're paying attention to everything. Everything's a competition. They're noticing what time you get in the building. They notice how much time you're spending doing this, how much time you're spending doing that. And that's not even the reps on the football field, Croc. So they're absolutely keeping score. And that's just the nature of sports in general, the nature of what's going on. And if you're not competing for a job, then you're losing a job, right? So
I like what you said earlier, where you said it's kind of the politically correct answer, but the answer to where it kind of deads the question and you don't have to answer it now.
Yeah, he does. And it is too early to get, even if he's thinking something, it is too early for a coach, a defensive coordinator to tell the public and tell the reporters if he's seeing something specific about a guy, right? So that's something that's going to happen a little bit later. Did you see, I know he's not a San Francisco 49er anymore. Did you see Deebo Samuel running around in shorts at Washington Commanders minicamp?
I saw a clip of him getting strapped by a defensive back.
Okay.
But I didn't see anything other than that. But I'm searching right now on Twitter.
You look at it. In fact, we could probably bring it up on the screen if we want and get a live reaction of it. I don't know how hard he's trying, but I will say that this clip floating around that I saw from him, he's just running routes on air. He looks overweight and slow, like period. He looks bigger than I remember as a 49er, and he does not look crisp or fast at all. He might not be going full go. It doesn't look like an NFL guy running, an NFL wide receiver running routes. to me. But again, don't make judgment until the pad comes on. It's hard to tackle Deebo Samuel.
So, yes, he does not look spry. He doesn't look light on his feet. He looks a little thicker, as we know Deebo Samuel can be. I'll give him, not saying I'm going to give him a pass, but I will use this example. All right. I've seen it. Aaron Berry. I remember Aaron Berry. He's a cornerback. He came from the Detroit Lions, and he signed with the New York Jets. And he was like way out of shape in the OTAs and minicamp. And I was thinking like, man, this is how these dudes show up to minicamp and OTAs, like 15 pounds overweight. And you know, at the NFL level, they'll give you a weight that they want you to get to. So like mine, I had to be between 193 to 195 when I was around 198 at that time. Nah, the best version of you will be between here. So this is where he wants you. So a guy like Aaron Berry, who was like 5'9", 5'10" corner, is like, hey, you need to be at like 190. And he was heavier than that. And then we showed up for training camp, and it was like boom, 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 abs everywhere, muscles everywhere. Like he just kicked into shape. So some guys take OTAs to get in shape. Like they'll show up to OTAs being out of shape and then utilize that time to just get their feet underneath them, start working out, get going, all right, run around a little bit. And then training camp, you hope to see the ready version of that player. When, they go away, they've been building up now, right? Since April, they've been kind of building their body up, getting ready, running, going through all that. Then they continue that into training camp, and then they show up ready to go for their conditioning test and all that come late July. So Deebo didn't look good. Like I just watched the same thing that you watched, but I'm gonna try to give him a pass. The issue with Deebo is he's been known to have some weight issues, and that goes back all the way to one of my buddies, former teammate of mine, who was a strength and conditioning coach out of South Carolina with Deebo Samuel there, and he had messaged me. I probably can go back and look at the exact message in exactly. I'm gonna try looking that up because I know I still have it. He messaged me on,
and it does make you when you see it. As someone who covers the 49ers, the first thing you think is, man, did the 49ers dodge a bullet in not keeping Deebo Samuel long term? Because is this something that's going to be a problem? Is he going to be somebody that eventually to be like, yeah, this guy, it's not going to work anymore? And could that possibly be this year? And I wonder how hard behind the scenes, if it's really an issue and it's been something that's an issue, and then we know it's a minor issue, has it been a major issue? Is it a tough thing that like, man, he is just going to get big at some point and he can't fight it. And it's just too difficult for him to not be a big guy because he is just naturally going to be really thick. And at some point he's going to be too heavy to be an NFL wide receiver and be as athletic as he needs to be. Like, how hard is it for Deebo Samuel to make weight every single year?
The NBA playoffs are winding down, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, there are so many ways to bet your favorite props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine a live prop bet into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. You can place that first $5 bet on who you think will win the Super Bowl. How about that? The Buffalo Bills with the shortest odds, plus 700. But if you're looking for better payoff, down the road, can I interest you in the Green Bay Packers at 22-1? Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
What DK Metcalf said about working with Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Let's get into the story of the day, and that's DK Metcalf. He spoke for the first time since being at minicamp. Of course, minicamp began Tuesday. We got to talk to Aaron Rodgers. Wednesday was his day, and I thought there were a few interesting things that he brought up. But also, and you read about this for The Athletic, Arthur Smith kind of opened up a little bit about the Steelers offense, saying like, look, I'm not going to run the wishbone with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf added into it. What's your sense of how different this offense can actually look this year just with the addition of those two guys?
Yeah, I asked him the question about that because I said, look, you guys ran the ball fourth most last year. Aaron Rodgers attempted the second most passes in the NFL. So how do you marry together really a run-heavy offensive coordinator with a pass-happy quarterback? And, he kind of gave – I think he loves to give us these little one-liners. He is pretty funny. And so he's trying to make a point by saying, I'm not going to run the wishbone. But I think really what you're going to see is an offense that builds off of the running game. And I think the running game is definitely going to still be a big part of what the Steelers do, but then integrating that play pass and opening up opportunities to throw based on running the football. So if I were to guess like a percentage, I think this might end up being a pretty balanced offense. And it could change week to week, but I think the balance is really what they're striving for.
I want to give people a chance to hear from DK Metcalf talking about his growing relationship with Aaron Rodgers, talking about how they met up during back in March before Aaron Rodgers even officially signed with the Steelers, and shortly after DK Metcalf had been traded there. So you hear from him on that and how he sees his role growing in the offense. Here is DK Metcalf Wednesday at Steelers Minicamp.
DK, now that Aaron's here, how excited are you? You worked out with him before you guys both arrived here, and now it's actually here. You guys can practice together.
Yes, sir. Just a step closer to football, a step closer to solidifying the team, and the product that we're gonna put out there on the field this season. Just excited to get to work. I know it's the first look here in a team setting with Aaron, so just to see what type of teammate he is, just excited with everything that he brings to the table.
What did you learn about him in that workout that you guys had in the offseason?
Just how cerebral he is and how he views the game. I like the way he views the game, from a receiver standpoint, but also from a quarterback standpoint. I think I can gain a lot of knowledge just from being around him because he's seen a lot of football. So just trying to soak up as much information and ball as I can.
Did you have a pretty good idea at that time that this would happen?
No, sir, because I never asked him directly like if he was coming. Just trying to give him the space to make his own decision, not trying to sway him one way or another. But just trying to get to know him as a person first, and then teammate second.
How did that come together? Did he reach out to you? You reach out to him?
I reached out to him just to see if he was in the area, wanted to throw, and he was, and we got together.
DK, you gotta do some more.
I'm sorry, what's up?
I think it's the same question. Do you plan on doing some more with him in the offseason?
Yes, sir. We're both based out of California, so plan on getting together with him for another throwing session and just watching film or just talking about him.
Were you and Aaron Rodgers, just what part of the game do you feel like are complementary? Certain concepts or routes or things you think are going to be good for the two of you guys together?
How quickly he released the ball and me getting off the line of scrimmage fast, I think is one thing that stands out first, but also his playmaking ability after a play breaks down or him to, contort his arm a different way just to get the ball out. I think he's unique, and I think he's going to help not only me, but a lot of receivers and tight ends in the offense.
As always, Mike DeFable with a great question at the end there. I think that's the whole thing here, right? Is that Aaron Rodgers has found a way to work with several different types of receivers. He's, before Devontae Adams, he had Jordy Nelson lighting it up with him, Randall Cobb. He's worked with short, fast guys, tall, fast guys, tall, big guys. He talked about Mercedes Lewis compared to Darnell Washington. We'll get to that later. But he's worked with pretty much every style of wide receiver in the NFL. And DK Metcalf is a guy who runs a 4.3 at 6'4" and can bully people off the line. So yeah, they're going to find a way to mesh, and there's plenty of ways that their styles can match up even as Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old.
Yeah, before we got on air here, Chris, I was looking up some percentages of what has DK Metcalf run, where has he been successful. And by far the thing he does most often is run the go ball. And so go route, throw the go ball. So it's interesting you talked about when the play breaks down, because earlier in his career, Aaron Rodgers was great at extending plays and finding ways to create outside of structure when plays broke down. So if he's still able to do that, that definitely would fit that aspect of DK Metcalf's game. But what I think is maybe now that Aaron Rodgers is a little bit older, maybe less mobile, maybe they're trying to protect him a bit, get the football out of his hands more. That's where the first part of his answer, when he talked about that quick release, because the other thing DK does a good job of is running slants and hitches. I think it was like about in his career, he's run about 11% of his routes have been slants, about 15% have been hitches. And so that all would seem to fit with the current version of Aaron Rodgers. So we'll have to see how this continues to evolve. But like the bottom line is when you have a receiver like DK Metcalf and you have a quarterback as experienced as Aaron Rodgers, I think they're going to find ways to make this work.
I think that's the thing is, it's going to be about finding ways, and it's going to be about Arthur Smith finding ways. But it sounds like what Arthur Smith is saying, he's open to finding that, and that's something I think that one of your colleagues, Diana Rossini, recently said on one of her podcasts, was saying like, hey, like he's going to be happy to adapt his offense to their skill set.
Yeah, and I think you and I both saw that happen last year. Like, I can't think of two more different quarterbacks than Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Like, Justin Fields is a fantastic runner, one of the best athletes with his feet in the entire NFL. But obviously we know, like, reading defenses, throwing with anticipation, those were not his strong suits. Then you look at Russell Wilson, he was like the complete opposite, where his mobility had significantly declined, but he was still a great deep ball thrower. And even like Russell Wilson was allergic to the middle of the field. I think he had a hard time seeing over the lineman because of his size.
Right.
So Arthur Smith loves to throw the ball over the football field, over the middle of the field. He didn't do it very much because it didn't fit his quarterback. And so, I think that is true what Diana's saying about this, that like Arthur has already shown Steelers fans, like you had Justin Fields that was available for a 6th round pick. Like he was available for nothing, and they turned him into a quarterback that showed enough that they were like, basically outbid for his services. Like Russell Wilson, the Denver Broncos essentially paid him to go away. And yet at some point in the season, Steelers fans were thinking, hey, this is the best offense we've seen since Ben Roethlisberger was here. So, like, I do have faith in Arthur Smith that he's going to be able to figure something out here, and I'm really interested to see how it comes together over the course of the season.
I'm gonna lead into this a little bit, with multiple notes here, because we're about to hear from Darnell Washington in the locker room. But Darnell Washington had a bit of a highlight towards the end of practice. But the person he received he worked with at this highlight play is going to make a lot